Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
When Nintendo needed a hero, there was only one man they could call. Sure, Sonic the Hedgehog was fast, and Sega Genesis looked great. But did Sonic have a dinosaur he could ride? A dinosaur that ate things and flew or spit fire? No. It's time to re-establish the dominance of a plumber stuck in what is really a nightmare world called the Mushroom Kingdom as a perennial console superhero. Super Mario World for Super Nintendo brought back all the best of the Super Mario, but with 16 bits this time. You could say they doubled the Super Mario. And that's not all. Now, ride around on the hungriest of all the dinosaurs. Fly around with a cape. Jump on weird football guys. I have no idea why they're there, but Tecmo Bowl was fun, I guess. All while searching for secret levels and defeating Bowser's many kids. Because this time, Super Mario conquers the world.
Retro Recall.
Welcome back to Retro Recall, the show with more nostalgia than... Hey, you remember that time I did the intro the other day where all the dead Marios were at the bottom of the screen? Yeah, this time it's Yoshi's.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead Yoshis.
Oh,
there's a lot of dead Yoshis.
Poor Yoshi. But just imagine I did a Yoshi intro. Hey, John, we're back. What are we talking about today?
All right, today we're going to our fourth and our final installment of the most famous franchise of game.
That's right. These are all the Mario games in existence.
Let me do that again. Today we're going into our fourth and final installment of the most famous franchise games of all time, Super Mario World.
That's right.
Obviously, the franchise has more than this. It continued beyond this. But first off, Super Mario 64's graphics live in my nightmares. So I am reticent to even look at that game ever again because it'll all come back and just live there. And also, the Game Boy games were weird. So just going to call them out. But in the future, we might do Mario Sunshine or some of the random ones because it's kind of a funny side bit. But when you talk Super Mario, people think Super Mario 1, Super Mario 2, Super Mario 3, Super Mario World. Those are the ones I think live in
most classic.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mario does show up in a lot of other things that we could cover in the future as well. Like these side games that Mario is in and all of that.
Smash Brothers.
Yeah, Dr. Mario.
Dr. Mario is super fun. Yeah, where where Dr. Mario has nothing to do with Mario whatsoever. They slapped his name on it.
Right.
This will sell our weird Tetris. And
yes, right. Yeah.
It did.
Our weird drug Tetris.
Yeah, I do like Dr. Mario. It's a super fun game. But
it is good.
Anyway,
it is good.
But today we're going to do a normal thing. How the release of Super Mario World went, how it was received and why it was so popular, and how it set up the rest of the franchise from there on out. Because this thing did just establish it. And of course, what it's like going back and playing it again in 2026. So
yeah.
There we go.
So let's talk about the release. When did it come out?
So as always, we're doing the North American release because the Japanese release is always a year or so earlier. But North America, it released on August 23rd of 1991. It was a package with the Super Nintendo. Other games that released were F-Zero, which we've covered before, Pilot Wings, which we should cover at some point, Sim City, which I never want to speak about because I really dislike that game. I know.
Oh, Sim City is so good.
Not in the missed sense, not like where I think no one should like it. Sim City just did nothing for me.
For you, these like management games just do not click at all.
Does nothing for me. But but Sim City is not missed. Sim City is a game that is good. Lots of people like it. I'm just not one of them.
Right. And that's totally legit. Yeah. There are certain types of games that I'm not super into, even though I might say, hey, no, they're really good games. They're just not for me.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Gradius 3, which every time I talk about it, I have to go look it up and what was that game because no one played it.
It's the shooter game, wasn't it? It was like a space shooter.
It was a space shooter game that no one played.
Yeah, but those games on the original NES were actually really good.
Yeah. But anyway,
so,
out the gate, to no surprise, Super Mario World was a hit. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it sold well. 1991, though, we are finally leaving the 80s behind. Technology is changing. Entertainment is changing. Television is changing. Pop music's not ideal. Pop music's never ideal. But non-pop was getting actually decently good thanks to cassette tapes. Mm-hmm. Even the pop music was kind of funny. I had to space out a little bit. At time of release, number one song was something called Everything I Do For You by some guy named Bryan Adams.
Yes. It was in the Robin Hood movie, wasn't it?
Maybe. Don't care.
It was part of the Robin Hood soundtrack, yeah.
Don't care. I do like that 2 months later, the number one song in America is a song by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, a.k.a. Mark Wahlberg. So that's the era we're talking about. I mean, by the way, look it up. It is so cringe.
Yeah, no, this was the early 90s.
So
this is early 90s R&B is a thing.
Ooh.
It is a thing. They were playing it at the dentist's office I went to yesterday.
It is a thing that, well, my wife likes it, but my wife doesn't like the Marky Mark stuff. She likes the stuff that she wishes she didn't like because it's awful, but it's like, it's got good beat. I was like,
it's got a very distinct sound, that early 90s R&B stuff. Yeah, for sure.
It does. But we're also at an era of music inflection. Tom and I have talked about this before. The cassette tape is now easy to make, which means bands can now make demo tapes really easily. The record labels are starting to push and get further out. So 1991.
And you copy them and you send them to your friends, and then you make mixtapes, and then you find out about bands you never heard of before. Yeah, man.
But 1991 is kind of a cool year. So Nirvana's Nevermind launches within a month of this. Pearl Jam's 10 launches. Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger launches. Grunge basically comes into existence in 1991.
Right.
I'll be honest, I wasn't a big grunge fan, but I respect grunge because grunge helped push alternative music out that wasn't going anywhere. Right. On my side, in punk, we get Pennywise's first album. NoFX launches Rib, which is one of the first bigger hits. Lollapalooza launches in July because Perry Farrell's weird.
True.
He is. Lollapalooza still exists. If you want to go to Chicago and spend a bunch of money to be disappointed, you're welcome to go. Rage Against the Machine forms this year. This is a massive year for I would call it a music inflection. Even if the albums weren't amazing, well, Nevermind is, but the albums weren't amazing.
You are getting great. I like 10.
Yeah, I don't like Pearl Jam, so I'm the only one. It's
it's fine. I mean, yes, okay, but yeah.
That's all. I'm not a Pearl Jam fan. So when I say it, I can't speak to whether 10 is good or not because I'm not a Pearl Jam fan. That's all I'm saying it is.
At that age, once I discovered grunge, that was one of those like, okay, no, this is good. This is legit.
Yeah.
There's something about, so let me just real brief.
Yeah.
Something about all of these albums, though, is the authenticity of them. That was
very much
core component. So whether you liked the style of music or not, these bands were 100 times more authentic than any of those like spandex wearing 80s metal.
More so than Bryan Adams.
And Bryan Adams. Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. We hit a really magical era of music as we're getting into the early 90s and pushing in through the 90s. Look, guys, music has always had bad parts, good parts, and bad parts. But we started getting to a point where music became an accessible thing for independent artists to release. And we started seeing the labels making an effort to release independent music without muddling it. Right. Which was probably, that's what like, especially those grunge albums were. Nevermind and 10 and Bad Motorfinger are three very good examples of albums that if you'd gone back 4 or 5 years, the record labels would have messed with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And these artists were all very sincere, genuine, authentic artists. They were people who were just milking, the music industry for money.
Yeah. I mean,
they were making legitimate art.
Still one of my favorite things. If you guys can look it up. Look up Nirvana talking about Madonna ticket prices.
Yes.
Laugh and laugh at how far we've come on the cost of tickets and realize that the amount of money Nirvana was charging to go see them in concert in like 1992, if you correct it
when
to
they were the
today's
biggest
dollars,
band in the world.
when you correct to today's dollars, is still like $30.
Yeah, it was like $15. Kurt says, like, what do we charge? Like $15 a ticket?
I think it was 20. I
20?
I think one of them said, I think we're charging $20. We felt bad about it.
Right.
Like it was that level. You're like, whoa.
Yes.
So, anyway,
that's the thing. Okay, well, what about movies? Because
movies are always great.
too.
We've covered this era before because some other stuff that came out at this time. Terminator 2 is still wrecking at the box office. This is 7 weeks after its release. It's still the number one movie in the theater. Shouldn't have been. It's not that great.
We have a comment about that we'll get to later.
I'm sure people do not like my opinion on Terminator 2, and I'll die on this hill. I don't care. Even if it's just me, I'll be on that hill fighting. Hot Shots is out, which is not a good movie, but I do enjoy it still.
It is enjoyable. Yes, I agree.
It's quite enjoyable.
Yes.
We covered this last time. Another one too, Double Impact, where Jean-Claude Van Damme plays identical twins thanks to very, very bad green screen. Every time that they both are together, they're not even lined up evenly. It's a magical part of it. Keanu Reeves is doing great because Point Break and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey are both out at the exact same time. And Point Break's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's when you think about the plot for more than like 5 or 6 minutes, you go, wow, that movie makes no sense. There's absolutely no way.
Right.
It's a cool movie. We're jump out of planes and rob banks. Dude, you guys would get caught like 7 seconds.
Yeah.
No,
it's watchable.
We wear rubber masks. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, Super Mario World. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
To the surprise of no one, when Nintendo had to launch a new console, they decided to lean into their most successful franchise. And also the surprise of no one, this was kind of a match made in heaven. You've got massively increased capabilities. The team on Mario were actually surprised at how much it could do. The story that I've heard is they actually ported over Super Mario 3 just to kind of see capabilities and realized, oh crap, we have to do a ground up build basically. Like we can't use any of our old code. This thing's too advanced for it.
Right.
Which is wild when you think about like how far we've come from.
It was a big jump. I mean, that was a 16-bit jump, right? That was, yeah. I
mean, and the great news is this team were not lazy. They could have sat back, sat on their laurels and just phoned a game in, which I guess they almost did with Doki Doki Panic thing, but that's a side note for a different day.
It was like a late pivot. We'll just call it a pivot. Yeah.
But they went, just like they did Mario 3, they went all in. But what I love about this is they didn't just go in all in on one element. They went in all in on everything. Graphics, obviously. Music was a big piece of this. The backgrounds, making the backgrounds not just the graphics of like the Mario and the sprites, but making sure the backgrounds look more vibrant. Level design, button inputs, everything. They wanted to make something that was basically a new standard in gaming. Which, and again, I don't know if this is true. One of the rumors I read was it's because Nintendo was under pressure from Sonic the Hedgehog.
It makes sense. That was big competition back in the day, and nobody was really sure who was going to become the new leader in video games. Yeah,
and from what I've read is basically Genesis or whatever the system you want to call it, Mega Drive, had been out for, I think, almost 2 years at this point. It had a pretty big jump on them. And Sonic was viewed as much hipper and much cooler than Mario.
Right, especially because of the marketing platform. They were pushing it as they had realized that a lot of the children in the 80s were now teenagers. So Sega was genius in marketing now to teenagers who didn't want little kid games anymore.
Right. And so there was actually even a concern with Super Mario World being their flagship. Will this sell at this level? Yeah, it did. Yeah.
It worked.
Oh my God, did it. I mean, wow. Lights out, by the way. Lights out, like first round KO level, this thing. I will use myself as an example. I was a Sega Genesis kid. I firmly do believe it was the better system. I really do. However, Super Mario World might be the best game released in the early 90s. Like
yeah.
I will own that all day. As much as I love my Genesis, as much as I like the Genesis games, Super Mario World, wow. And everyone agrees with me.
Yeah, they put the whole power of Nintendo behind this game. They knew that games sell systems, and they needed something that was going to blow everyone away. And like you said, they improved every little feature.
Right.
And they had a track record. They'd already made 3, if you in some ways of adding it together, different Mario games, and they learned what works and what doesn't, what people like, and how the industry had shifted from the early 80s now to the early 90s.
I like something you said there, and I do want to caveat it a little bit. You said that they put like all their energies behind it. We think of that a lot from like a marketing thing of they put all their energies behind it. They kind of force it down our throats. That's not what we mean. They did do that with this one.
Right.
But they also made sure this game was funded and developed to be the absolute best thing it could be. And the numbers are brutal on this game. Super Mario World, in its totality, sold 20.6 million copies. By comparison, Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive, all combined, sold 30 million systems. Mm-hmm. SNES sold 49 million systems. So Super Mario World sold two-thirds of the copies compared to the number of Genesis consoles sold.
Right.
This game is massive. It makes up little less than half of people who own a Super Nintendo mathematically bought this game.
Right.
It's ranked with a 95% or higher by everyone. And it is just beloved. It's another one of these games that is considered maybe the best game ever made. So let's get into it.
Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about. And we're going to cover a lot of things that we really liked.
All right. So let's talk about getting back into the game. I'll start off with, I love this game. And it was a blast game. Like, as much as I love Super Mario 3, this game might be better, because it actually feels even better balanced. And I have to give the developers and the writers a ton of credit. It feels like they learned from all of the good ideas in Mario 3 and put those in and killed all the duds.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that in the good and the bad. But they really did learn from, hey, this is fun. Lean in. And also, this is terrible. Let's just remove that. So
right. All right. Well, let's get into the good stuff. What did you like the most about this? I mean, there's a lot of good things to talk about, but
the really easiest one is obviously Yoshi. I think all of us when we were kids, the first time we saw Yoshi had, at least for me, was a 1-2 combo of what the hell is that? Followed by, oh my God, this is my new favorite thing. And then how many things can I eat?
Right. You have to try eating everything. Yeah.
Everything. I'm eating everything. Some of it get to spit out. Because the thing about Yoshi is there's a lot of like random stuff about it. What color shell are you eating? Oh, I can fly with this one in my mouth. I can jump up and down and make everything explode with this one in my mouth. Yoshi's awesome. Yoshi's immediate. And again, obviously Yoshi became his own character as a result of this game. So good on them on the dinosaur idea. Next one, though, I think is level design. And I think level design might be one of the more important parts of this. In Mario 3, we got our first good level variation. It was there in Mario 2 to a point, but Mario 3 was the first one to say, we'll go to different worlds, and those worlds will have some uniformity, etc., etc. Mario World leaned into it really well by creating a bit more of a theme. The music was always the same. You had, like, most of the worlds, they weren't made necessarily all underground, and I think it might have been Donut Plains or one of them.
Yeah.
But you're mostly underground, but they're meant to be like the Forest of Illusion, that kind of stuff. You're always, there's a similarity going through it, which makes you feel like a Castlevania or some of those games where you actually are progressing through a story, which is really, really nice. Oh, I've completed that section. All that stuff is behind me, which I like. At the same time, they also shortened it up. There's only 7 worlds in this game.
Yeah.
As opposed to 8 in Mario 3. There actually were 7 in 2, and there were 8 in Mario 1. I looked them up. But I think the number of also missions is lower too. So you do actually get less, but it's a lot more fun. So I think it's the level design. It's really key. And And obviously the colors and the vibrancy.
The color palette really stands out to me because they got new colors with the Super NES. But there's something about, like you mentioned, the forest, whatever the forest was called.
Forest of Illusion.
The color palette there and the different greens and like the saturation of those colors, even in the backgrounds of the levels. Something about that as a kid, like really... Again, I talked about this before with early NES games, how the blocky things make you kind of want to touch them, almost like they're Legos.
Yeah.
There's something like that. I feel it. There's something in my brain that sees the colors and how complementary they are and the way the color choices work. I don't know what that is. I'm sure somebody out there with an art degree can explain it better than I can. But like something about it is done so well that it feels tangible almost.
Even like the little bits of fruit that Yoshi can eat that are hanging up high, you can jump up and grab. It's just the way, even like it feels even more 3-dimensional too, in the way the colors were versus 1, 2, and 3.
Right, right.
Another great one of the enemies. I think a major lesson that they learned in Mario 3 was that aside from turtles and mushrooms, vary your enemies. And they did it a lot. As you progress through the game, the enemies vary quite a bit, but not like not in this annoying sense where I have to learn new tactics, because it's always a jump on them.
Sure.
It's a universal system. Yeah. Right. Jump on them, hit them with a fireball, universal. But you do get new enemies, and each level you get them, you see them a lot. Again, it gives you the sense of you're progressing through the game. It gives you variety. It makes it kind of spicy as you're moving through. That boredom and monotony is gone. It is an immediate, okay, I want to get through this like zone and I want to get there.
Right. And the enemies are still weird. They're still weird.
Very much so.
Like Charge and Chuck. You've got a football guy. Like, why is he a football guy? What's going
Charge
on
and Chuck. Yeah, but the random football guys, the
Reznor, the boss that's a bunch of dinosaurs on a rotating wheel.
Who spit fireballs.
Yes.
Yes,
it's
spit
weird.
fireballs at you. You've also got the weird caterpillar of anger that you have to eat. There's that one.
There's a lot of weird enemies, but that's always been a part of the series, is that they just get these creative weird enemies, and it works.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest ones to me, though, are the secrets. And we talked about this last week with Mario 3. The idea of secret levels being addition, not subtraction. In the early Mario games and in a lot of early Nintendo games, your secrets were designed to help you skip to the end. The idea was you use a secret to play less game because the games are kind of boring. In this, the secrets give you more game, but not in the sense like, I'll do secrets because I want to get extra experience and level up and get stronger. So
it wasn't grinding. Yeah.
No, it's just, hey, you like the game? Here is more game, but not game that you're required to beat, because some of these levels actually work. Some of the star levels were hard, but the idea was here's more game. You can go over here and play more game if you want to play more game. Don't have to. It has no bearing on beating the game whatsoever. But that was a really, really cool concept at this time.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. It's as if Nintendo realized that difficulty scaling you can put on the player rather than as an option or as just not an option at all. And what I mean by that is the game starts out easy, and how hard the game gets is up to you, the player. Do you want to find all the secrets? That's harder to do. You can challenge yourself to do it, but that's your choice. You don't have to do it, but you can. Do you want to do the special worlds? Well, that's up to you. You don't have to beat them, but if you want something harder, go for it. So the difficulty actually scales based on the player, which means that every player will naturally get to their best level of difficulty. The people who want the hardest version will get it, and the people who don't will just do the easiest path to the end, but they'll still get to beat the game, which is kind of genius. Yeah, and they do this. And this is a hallmark of Nintendo games from this period forward.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. This probably is the origin point of a lot of that, where they realized, hey, make the games fun.
Yeah, and allow the players to make it as difficult as they want it to be.
Yeah,
but anyone can play it.
No more lost levels. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Another great one it's funny. I didn't think about it till I was reading about the game and realized, oh yeah, is the saved power up. It's been there the whole time. I use it all the time. It didn't occur to me how unique that was till I was reading about it. And this is a thing for those who haven't played the game in a long time. Normally when you level up as Mario, whatever you get, if you like, so for example, if I'm Fireball Mario and I get a feather to become Caped Mario, the fireball's gone. Now it doesn't. Now it goes up above me, or I can even bank an extra one up there. So if I do get hit with something and I go down a level, the thing from above will drift down and I can grab it and get and regain my power up. So I've got this stored power up, which is way better than in Mario 3, where you got this giant collection of stuff I could use, but only at the beginning of a level.
Right. That was like the version 1 of the idea. And they were like, but what if you could use it while you're already in level?
Genius. And it really does make the levels a lot more enjoyable. Let's kind of plan ahead a little bit. It makes, and this kind of gets me to the next point. It also makes the game a lot easier. What they learned in 3, and maybe from Sonic the Hedgehog, to be fair, is keep the game easy. Now, when I say easy, I more mean beatable. The levels are challenging, but they added 2 main things to deal with that. First off, there's a save mechanic.
Yeah, for the first time in Mario.
So now, those of us who are old enough, it means that if I can walk away to go have dinner when mom and dad call, not worry about my sibling or my parents turning the system off. That was always a number one fear on Nintendo. Because by the way,
don't touch the TV. Don't touch
Nintendo. Well, that Nintendo power button was not very strong. Like the Super Nintendo was a switch. You pressed it, it locked in place. I also will give the system that credit.
Right.
The Nintendo was a little button. It was very easy to glance, and the reset button was right next to it.
Right.
It was not a good system.
I'm sure it happened to every kid. Every kid had this problem.
And there were tiers. There were a lot of tiers. But the other one that they did was you could replay old levels and quit anytime. You'd open a level, pause, and then press select, and you would leave the level with whatever you were currently holding, which meant that you could bank. You could go there if you found it. So if you have Yoshi, for example, and you go to where there's a Yoshi, you get a 1-up. We all know where that is. I could just farm extra lives if I need to. Same with if I want to have extra capes, I can go farm capes. I can farm stuff. What this did was, when I say made the game easy, what it allowed you to do is it effectively made it so anyone can beat the game. You just might need time. Because you never had that problem you get in earlier games where you've got 4 lives, 6 lives, and you're going to run out. And when it runs out, you have to go all the way back to the start of the world or whatever it was, grind through a bunch of levels. That's enough to kind of burn you out. This one doesn't. You can pick a level and just go, all right, I'm going to give me some difficulty. I had it getting through the last bit of Bowser's Castle. A couple of times I had to go back like 4 worlds to get 2 feathers, and then go all the way back, and a Yoshi, and go all the way back and try it again. Stupid castle. We're doing doing this again. That was a really nice thing because, again, it makes it so. Obviously, it's not that I don't like speedrunners. Something like it's the wrong way, but like if you want to be a speedrunner, be a speedrunner. You could speedrun this game. But if you just want to play the game and beat it, there's really, if you have the ability to play Super Mario Brothers, you can beat Super Mario World.
Yeah. And they give you plenty of, right off the bat, like the P-switches with so many coins that pop up in a room. You have to collect all the coins, and of course you're going to get a 1-up from that. And then extra 1-ups that are hidden places. They just like Mario 3, they learned if they give you a bunch of extra aid, then people can keep playing and they enjoy the game more.
Exactly. Yeah. How about you, Tom? That's my stuff. I'm sure you got similar stuff.
No, that's a lot of. I agree with a lot of that stuff. To me, the movement. You talked about how they had to completely retool the game and kind of built it from the ground up. The movement is somehow even more fluid and streamlined. It's even better than any of the other Mario games. Just being able to jump and maneuver, spin jumps, running when you jump, being able to determine where you land. All of that feels so much more precise. Even though the other games were already good, this was just that next level of polish above that.
Yeah, I agree completely. It was the games. Yeah, your inputs are really nice. Really nice. Yeah.
And the controller was improved too. That Super Nintendo controller felt a lot better than that rectangle that we had on the NES.
Just rounded edges was, wow, what an amazing thing.
Yeah, put a rounded edges thing in your hand. Weird. Also, Yoshi, you talked about Yoshi, but even the little details that you can use Yoshi where like you can walk on certain things that Mario can't, or you can jump off of him in order to get further distance, and then poor Yoshi falls down the pit. And then even the little things like flying and then dive bombing, like you could fly with your tail in Mario 3, but in this you could fly across and then you swoop around.
Yeah, and land hard and actually knock guys down. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, all of that. Every little bit of this the movement mechanics were improved. Even swimming feels better to me.
Yep.
I also like that they included picking things up and tossing them. A little bit of Mario 2 there, but in a different sort of way. You didn't have to like pull things out of the ground. It was more like just pick up the block. It was a lot faster. Tossing them in the air is cool. There's some mechanics where that, hitting certain blocks that float around. Or the boss at the end of the game, which we'll get to in a little bit. Busting down castles with TNT. Pretty awesome.
Oh, every castle's different. So one is TNT, then you jump on one,
right?
He erases one.
Right, but like the TNT one is the one that like to my 12-year-old brain, I was like, what? There's something about that where I was like, wait, we're actually Mario's using explosives?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the one that really stands out to me as a kid that always comes back. But yeah, just breaking castles in general, pretty cool. The graphics and sound improving were absolutely a treat. The way that they include even effects like echoes when you're in like the spooky levels and the sound, like the jumps have like an echo to them.
Yeah, you're right.
That stuff.
It's like, yeah, it feels like you're actually in like a castle. Yeah.
Yeah. That stuff really, really good. I think it was called Z mode, where they added in like the Super Nintendo ability to like rotate things and zoom them in and out. They use that a lot, scaling and rotating, even platforms shifting and tilting. Or like when you go in a keyhole and the giant keyhole goes whoop, and like gets real big. That part's pretty cool. I love the ghosts. There's so much more ghost stuff in this. Light and dark effects with like spotlights or like the little circle that moves around. All of that stuff was really cool. The P blocks, the use of P blocks is really cool. Also, there are some stuff in the game that is very 90s. So like the special levels are called gnarly, tubular, way cool, awesome, groovy, mondo, outrageous, and funky. Yeah. But the fact that there's one called tubular...
Of course there was.
Which is a very
Ninja Turtles was a thing.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles was a thing. You can't stop it. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. But it is very much of its time, and that's kind of quaint and fun looking back at it. Those are my goods. Well, let's talk about the bads, though, because you've got some on this list. Yeah.
There's a couple. So one of the ones that bothered me a little bit was the boss levels in a weird way. They're just not hard.
Yeah, they're not.
And it's a level, and it's me just 30 years of gaming, more than actually now, but I'm going to say 30. It's actually closer. It's pushing 40. But the boss levels to me should be difficult. And in this game, there's really no difference in difficulty between the boss levels and the regular levels. And that's just kind of annoying because it's like, oh, okay, you get to the boss level. In some cases, I actually had more trouble in the level before the final castle than I did on the castle itself.
Right.
Because if the one before the final castle it was like a forced scroll level, I would struggle more with that one. So there's that one. Another one is that the secrets are a bit of a problem. And I said, with putting myself back in that time, the secrets are great, but this is 1991. Which means there's no internet to look stuff up. Right now, when I played this game, I could play it with a screen open, and I know where every single thing is.
Right.
In this era, you had to have Nintendo Power. And Nintendo Power wouldn't just be one Nintendo Power. You need a multiple of Nintendo Powers to know where they all are. Or that 1-900 gaming number you'd have to call.
You'd spend like... Yeah, I don't remember how much it cost, but it was so much that I was like, I'm never going to be able to call the gaming line.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's what these things were. And it's kind of this weird thing when I liked it, when I was thinking back on it, I'm like, oh crap, a couple of those ones, some of them you could stumble into, but others... You were not going to find that unless you were like spending every level searching for it and searching for it. That's kind of annoying, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I guess it depends on your expectations. Do you expect to find them all? Do you expect not to? And back then, we had less of a history of other games to know where these kinds of things could be hidden.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back a second time, it's not nearly the same experience I had the first time, but there were definitely some that my brother and I playing through this never found, for sure.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the last one is kind of a dumb complaint, but it's a real one. The final boss fight against Bowser... is weird to me because you have to use a different mechanic than you've used in any other fight. You have to jump on things, stun them, then throw them up in the air to hit Bowser.
Yeah. For anybody who hasn't played this, he's flying around in his little flying cup thing, right?
Which looks like they stole that from Sonic the Hedgehog. Side note.
It does. It is very, yes, you're right. There is some, they probably got inspiration from, those boss fights. And they were like, okay, he flies around and then you have to throw things up and hit him. And that mechanic is the throwing things up in the air thing only happens a few times in the game before that. So it's not something that is like super common.
Right. It's very odd. And so like playing it, I remember playing as a kid, I couldn't figure out how to beat him. I couldn't jump on it. Like, how am I supposed to do this?
Right.
And eventually, like, you get lucky and figure it out. But it's a very odd mechanic. And
and they don't telegraph it as much. Like one of the Nintendo things to do is to have like maybe a minor boss fight that uses that exact same mechanic, but it's much more obvious. And then you remember that and you're like, oh, well, I'll try it on this one. And it works.
It was very odd because I remember playing it through again where it was like, oh, this is a weird fight. So I went to the walkthrough like, oh, yeah, that's how I do it. But then I was thinking back like, hey, that's kind of shitty. You know what I mean? Why do I got to do it? Why you got to make me do it all weird? All right. How about you, Tom? Any issues?
Yeah. You know, this is another one of those games that sits so firmly in my memory that I have a hard time disassociating myself going back and playing it again from the way I originally played. So those kinds of criticisms like, oh, from the final boss fight, like and that in my brain, I'm like, yeah, that's just how that is. Because it feels like it always was. And they're like, there's no choice. That's just the way the game is. So it's hard for me to point out anything like that as like a specific dislike. It feels more like just that was an odd choice.
Right.
But I don't know, 12-year-old me was fine with it. I wasn't criticizing the game for that. But I think you're right. Like the boss fights in general could have been a little bit more complex and difficult. But I think
a couple of them like the one where the guy runs up the side wall. A lot of them they're just not hard. In fact, the Reznor fights are harder than a lot of the Koopaling fights.
Koopalings, yeah.
And you're just like, really? And actually, the Reznor fight, once you figure out how to do it one time, it is an identical fight every single time thereafter.
You just have to adjust a little bit from different Koopalings and the mechanics and all.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is I'm just like, this really isn't hard.
They stuck with the let's keep most of this stuff easy so nobody bounces off and gets too frustrated. Yeah. But also, I guess you have to consider that this was a launch title. This was a game that came out with the system. This was a system seller. So if a large percentage of the audience is just like, yeah, the game's too hard, they wouldn't sell Super Nintendos.
No, that's true.
There's a lot tied to it. Yeah,
it's fine. And I'm not pushing for Battletoads here. I'm just
I'm
just simply saying like, it just felt weird how easy the boss fights were, where you're like, oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah,
that's it.
Okay. Yeah. That feels like it's kind of how the series is. I know you feel like Mario 2 boss fights were a lot more difficult, but also it wasn't really a Mario game.
Were hard.
I never found them that hard. There's something about that mechanic.
You can't remember.
Maybe
the first time you went through them. Once they're memorized, they're not hard because you time them. And Mario 2, once you had them timed, they were easy. But until you figure out the timing, they'll jack you.
It was harder for me to figure out Birdo in Mario 2 than it was any of the other bosses.
Yeah.
Once I was like, oh, you pick things up and throw them at them, I was like, okay. I don't know. But yeah, that's there's not a whole lot I can criticize about this game. It feels like we said, it feels like the best, like in conclusion, it feels like the best game on the Super Nintendo system.
In conclusion, if you haven't played this, go play it. It's a very simple one. There's no one who shouldn't have played this game. When my child is old enough to play it, he will play it. I assume Tom's children have played this game. This is a perennial game that will get played. I don't know how many years will have to go by before people stop playing this game.
Yeah, and so many of these mechanics are now in the Mario Maker games, which are used in all sorts of other creative ways. So the foundation here is still being used in games today by people designing levels and doing all sorts of things.
Exactly.
So yeah, pretty solid stuff. But hey, we've got to take a quick break. We're going to be back in just a second and we're going to go over some comments. We've got a bunch of comments. Thank you everybody for responding to the previous episodes and letting us know your thoughts. We'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is sharing the message that connection is crucial because good relationships are an essential and sometimes overlooked component of mental well-being. If your relationships could use some strengthening, a licensed therapist from Talkspace can help. Therapy can help you communicate better with loved ones, repair conflicts, and understand how to address loneliness and build community. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a therapist within 2 days. You'll meet with your therapist online on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make personal connections a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
All right. We are back, and if you enjoy our voices, go check out our other shows. John does the 40K Lorecast and the History of 40K. I do the Fallout Lorecast, the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, and the Lord of the Rings Lorecast. Go check out our other lore shows where we dig into not just, hey, did we play a game and did we like it, but the deep lore behind all of those different series. And they're a lot of fun. But John, we've got some comments here across a number of episodes. Let's see if I can get through these pretty quickly. Peter says on the Final Fantasy Tactics episode, I agree about Titanic.
Yeah, it sucked.
It sucked. Yes, Peter, we agree too. Peter also says, do the Oregon Trail in the Curse of Monkey Island episode.
So the thing about Oregon Trail is it's from the 70s.
It's an old game. I mean, there's lots of remakes.
From the 70s. I didn't realize we talked about it, and I was like, this is actually pushing it. The game's older than me.
It's old. Yeah, it's old. And all very difficult. Like, you're not meant to win most of the time. You die of dysentery a lot. Yeah. But it might be fun. We might do something like that. People. That's also true. Peter also says on the Zelda 2 episode, why are so many old Nintendo games about saving a damsel in distress? I think probably because that was just a really easy plot to use.
It's honestly, watch any sort of fantasy anything that was created up through that time, and you'll get your answer pretty quickly. That's just what they were. Disney was in its infancy at that, not infancy, but like Disney wasn't really pumping the movies out quite as much at that point. But everything was built around that at that era. You had the protagonist was male, and the antagonist was male, and usually the antagonist kidnapped the female, and the protagonist's job was to save said female.
Yeah. It's like kind of a fundamental thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Lucky we got something like Army of Darkness where it was funny, but not always.
Right. Yeah. Brett says in the Final Fantasy episode, Final Fantasy Tactics, let me be clear about that. I love how much John knows about the music he's into, but then knows nothing at all about crap songs that everybody else has heard of. That being said, please don't judge Australia on Savage Garden.
Look, Australia's got some very good alternative music. Savage Garden is not it.
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't want to swim with you on a mountain or whatever that song is. Anyway, Finn says, do you know a game called The New Zealand Adventures where you are a chick and you have a bow and arrow and shoot enemies? And he goes on and says, well, but no. It's New Zealand Story. And you're not a chick, you're a Kiwi, which makes sense being from New Zealand. I don't know this one.
I've never heard of this in my life, but I'm looking it up right now. The New Zealand Story. Oh, wow. 1988. I actually don't think this may not have made it to the US. Could be why. Because what I'm looking at right here, the cover art has Japanese characters all over it. So this is quite possible that this never was released.
Yeah, I think it was only in Japan, according to the wiki page.
There it is. No, in North America, it was released by Taito as Kiwi Craze.
Oh, completely different name.
It was included in the Amiga 500 Batman pack. Oh, wow. Yeah, I am completely unaware of this game's existence. Well, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either. That's another one we'll put on the list to take a look at.
Yeah.
Brian says, on the Curse of Monkey Island episode, this game sounds like what I've been asking my parents about as a kid, from the humor to the puzzles. But now I want to take it as a challenge to see how many puzzles I could figure out on my own. And you can't go wrong with some Monty Python-esque humor. Love the podcast, guys. Keep it up. Thanks, Brian.
You will love the game. You're going to get into it. The Monty Python, the Curse of Monkey Island is an amazing game. Super fun. It just unfortunately fell under the radar because it came out when a bunch of other stuff was coming out. And people were like, yeah, I'll go play Diablo. So that happens.
JMIJALKOV. I don't know how to pronounce that. Also, Curse of Monkey Island says, loving the podcast. Being a 90s baby, I remember some. I may have to have a crack at. Listening to this adventure games brings me back to me, my bro, and cousins all crowding the one PC and brainstorming. Oh. Admittedly, never played any Monkey Island game, but I think I will now. Yeah. If you ever revisit these adventure games, my childhood adventure experience was consumed by 3 skulls of the Toltec treasure.
Yes.
Love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Tom and I were discussing, we've got a few of these, Companions of Xananth is one that comes to mind very quickly. A lot of the Sierra games. Sierra had some very good, these kind of adventure games, for lack of a better phrase. Yeah, Sierra made really good ones. We're going to be doing a bunch of those at some point. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mateo says on Curse of Monkey Island, thanks for the shout out. However, Red Zone wasn't really a commie game. It's the same like the very popular top-down helicopter game Desert Strike, but with the addition that you could land at certain bunkers and pick a crew member to clear the bunker from the inside. It was also top-down shooter, kind of like old GTAs, but more zoomed in.
I mixed it up with somebody else then. My bad. Sorry about that, though. Yeah.
Hey, good to know. Thanks for the info. Scott says on Curse of Monkey Island, hey guys, immigrated from Tom's TES Lorecast, and John's right. He is a delight. Tom's voice is as fluffy, smooth, like butter as always. Thank you, Scott. I was cracking up at the vitriol in the Mist episode. I also always struggle with that one and agree. Monkey Island is simply superior.
Yes, exactly. Mist sucked. Monkey Island, great. It's not that the puzzle games are bad. It's that Mist is bad. Full stop.
It's just bad. Yeah. And Jay says about Curse of Monkey Island, thanks for the retro recall. I'm a fan from South Africa. Nice. Hello to South Africa. Always fun to hear international people chiming in. Yeah. Teddy, Curse of Monkey Island says, AFI mention had me smiling.
Oh, good old AFI. I still tell me I saw them in a basement of a church in the 90s, back when they were original hardcore AFI.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Church so basement punk shows. Yeah. Life was a
I've played a few of those for sure. Lucas, Curse of Monkey Island says, I feel like this is a place to mention Jet Force Gemini. I remember playing that game with my brother when I was younger and loving the game and hating my life. Pure fun, pure rage, save the koalas.
Yeah.
I don't know this one either.
N64 game. Jet Force Gemini's N64. N64 is tough. I'll be honest. Like we need to cover some N64 games, but those graphics do something weird to my brain. I really don't like them.
Like PlayStation 1 also, they're polygonal, but also so low res at the same time.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, but yeah, Jet Force Gemini, it was actually a pretty fun game. I remember I rented it once, and it was I enjoyed it. We can knock it out. We'll do probably a chunk of these at some point.
At some point we'll have
really
to do
terrible on-screen text, if I remember correctly.
Okay. All right. Paul says, Curse of Monkey Island, John is still wrong about Terminator 2.
I take so much grief for this on my other podcast, but I'm dying on this hill. Terminator 2, I do not like.
This is an identity thing at this point. Yeah. You can't change your mind. It's not allowed. And then one more from Brian, Curse of Monkey Island episode. Hearing Oddworld Abe's Odyssey mentioned took me back to the days as a child playing not only that, but others such as Final Fantasy IX and Legends of the Dragoon.
Yep.
I'm not too sure how feasible it is considering the length of the other two, but it would be really cool if any of those games were visited in future episodes. Keep up the great work, you two.
Oh yeah. The truth is, we could do Final Fantasy IX right now. I could do it. I beat that game. So I still have my PlayStation 2, my original, and I have all the original discs, and I beat 7, 8, and 9 every 5 years. Every 5 years.
That's amazing.
I get in the mood and I sit down and I play them, all 3 of them, all the way through. I could do a cast on Final Fantasy IX right now. It's because I actually did it. The last time I beat him was within the last 6 months.
Yeah.
I love Final Fantasy IX. Legend of Dragoon is trickier. I haven't played that since the 90s.
I played through Final Fantasy IX and actually finished it maybe 2005, I want to say. So it's been a while. But I do remember a lot about it. It's a massive game. You have to spend a lot of time in that game in order to beat
Abe's Odyssey, though, that game was fun. That game, because those really weird ones. That game's super fun.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in with your comments. And definitely let us know your thoughts about all the different Mario games we've covered and all of that. Of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts on Mario World. John, anything else before we wrap this up?
All right. So next week we are deciding to move on with our Super Mario coverage. We like this idea of doing a theme. So we're going to kind of stick with this for a bit. We're going to do another theme. And our theme for the next month is going to be post-traumatic stress disorder video games. Specifically games that should not have been very hard, but were nightmarishly hard to play. Mm-hmm. And we're starting with one that when Tom said the name to me, I actually had like a chill go up my spine. I owned this game. I played a ton of it, and I'm actually afraid to go back to it. Echo the Dolphin, which may, if you guys never played it, all those words meant nothing to you. And if you did play it, you had the exact same reaction when I said those words. Oh God, not that one. Because it's a very fun game. You are a time-traveling dolphin fighting off aliens to save the whales. It is complicated. I know the plot's a little bit odd. The gameplay is magical. It is very well made. Holy crap, does this game get hard. Out of nowhere, too. I had a lot of fun doing the Battletoads episode, and I think I'm going to enjoy this next month of playing games that are borderline impossible.
Extremely difficult. Yeah, and a lot of these I haven't played, or I've only played a little bit because I didn't own them or rent them.
Yeah, so of the 4 games we're doing, I owned 3 of the 4. And the 4th I actually also have played. But like it is, these ones, this is going to hurt. And I think you're all going to really enjoy them as we get to each of them going, oh God, not that one. But yeah, the main thing about these are all games that look happy, fluffy, and enjoyable. And then you go to play them and you discover, oh my God, what have I done? So,
Yep. So we're going from some of the most famous, best made games ever to some of the most difficult and
brutal. I mean, they're well made, but they are. Echo the Dolphin, the cover of Echo the Dolphin is not going to match the horror and sadness that I'm going to talk about Echo the Dolphin with, but not in the sense of Myst, which I actually thought sucked. It actually was a good game. Echo the Dolphin has like a 95% rating. It's a very good game. It's just, oh God, it's so hard.
Yeah.
By the way,
well, looking forward to it. Hope you guys enjoy those and have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Retro Recall.
Robots Radio. Games. Lore. Stories. Community. Just press play.
A BetterHelp ad. Therapy isn't just for times of major challenge. It's a valuable tool for anyone wanting to improve their well-being. It can help you develop healthy coping skills, set boundaries, and support personal growth. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a fully licensed therapist right from your phone. No commuting, no waiting rooms. And you can switch therapists at any time. Sign up at BetterHelp.com and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.